Welcome in to After Nebrasketball on a Thursday night. Nebraska drops a tough one at home tonight, 83-75 to number 25, Maryland. I am Jack Mitchell. That is Kaleb Henry from Husker Max. He is live from Pinnacle Bank Arena. We're ready to break it down for a little while here tonight. We will be talking with Jacob Bigelow here in just a little bit too. He is going to join us as well once he gets finished with the Fred Hoiberg and players press conference. Please, if you're joining us and you're watching us on YouTube live, please like and subscribe to the page that you're watching on, whether it's I-80 Club or Husker Max, and we'll be taking some live comments during the show from our patrons on our Discord channel. Or if you want to do a super chat, we would love to talk to you there as well. All right, Kaleb, 83-75, a loss for Nebraska. Maryland plays very well. Nebraska just can never quite do enough to get on top. Maryland had the answer every time tonight, like some of the Nebraska's had against some of the teams they have faced. And it was a shorthanded Nebraska team too. It seemed like they just didn't have what they needed personnel-wise tonight. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, ultimately, I thought this game came down to the absence of Berke, Bucht, and Gel, and that's a tough thing. That's a tough pill to swallow for this team, because there were a lot of guys that played really, really well. There were guys that played extremely well, despite apparently several of them being sick. And you got almost nothing out of Connor Esigian because of that. In the limited minutes that he played, 9 minutes, missed all 6 of his shots, 0 for 4 from deep. But what you would have had from the rotation inside with Berke, Bucht, and Gel, at least a little bit, even if it's just to eat up fouls. Andrew Morgan fought some foul trouble, and so he had to sit at times. But 42 points in the paint for Maryland, and specifically, like, Derek Queen just dominated, 9 of 11, 24 points. He grabs 11 rebounds. Julian Reese grabs 12. Those two combined to have more rebounds than Nebraska did as a team. 23 for those two players, 22 for Nebraska, 34 in total for the Terrapins. It was you can talk about the three-point shooting. You can talk about the unreal shots that you had. Jacoby Gillespie, you had Rodney Rice, Selton Miguel. All of those guys hit in winning time. Yeah, those are things that absolutely Maryland had to have happen to hold on to this game and then get those free throws to seal it late. But over the course of 40 minutes, it was the absence of Berke and what he would have been able to help bring you in the paint, especially on the defensive end. And that's really where this game turned overall over 40 minutes. Yeah, there's things. If Bryce hits one of those threes in the last 30 seconds, yeah, there's still a chance for Nebraska. But overall, over the course of this game, the hole that Nebraska dug had to pull themselves completely out of, and then dug a little bit more with that just kind of low energy couple of minutes in the second half where it got re-extended and Maryland kind of took back control. That was the difference, was no Berke and trying to fill in all of the other things. We had talked about, can you get a full 40 minutes from Andrew Morgan and Braxton Mia? And ultimately you do. They combine. It says on the sheet they combine for 39, but like that's 40 minutes when you're looking at where things are for those two. After playing just 7 minutes the other night, Braxton Mia comes out and gives you 18. Right. That's really where it is for me.
For me, it was just, you had 5 guys on Maryland. You had their entire starting lineup all have – how often can you say this about a basketball team, Kaleb? You have 5 guys in the starting lineup all have pretty much great offensive games. And that's what you had for Maryland. And you mentioned it. 3 of them made incredible plays in the last 3 minutes of the game offensively. Hit difficult shots or incredibly difficult drives. And that's just what they did all night. I mean, that was a team, man. And Nebraska definitely had issues on defense tonight. They bowed up a couple of times when they need to. But, man, Reese, Queen, Gillespie, Rice, Miguel, all of them. Every single one was in double figures. All of them but one was over 50% from the field. And that was Rice, just because he wasn't hot from 3. He was 1 for 5 from 3.
Right.
And they were all, man, and they all got to the line except for Gillespie. All of them had at least 2 free throws during the game. They shot as a team there were only 2 field goals from anyone but that group, right? Geronimo had 2 field goals. Nobody else had any other shots, 3-pointers, free throws, anything. So that
Right.
starting lineup was 31 for 51 from
Well,
field goal, a 60% rate for that team.
and you talk about, Nebraska being shorthanded without Berke Buchtengel, because you would have needed that. Nebraska has played a good 8-9 guys deep and needed to do that. That's not Maryland. Out of the 200 total minutes for their team, 17 were from guys off the bench.
Yeah.
17 out of 200 potential minutes for guys were off of the bench. It was that like Maryland is those starters. It is those guys. And you had all 5 of those guys play exceptionally well on offense. And that's tough to do on any night, let alone a night where like Nebraska had its chances and was down a guy that would have definitely helped against the bigs inside.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Nebraska had a personnel issue. Among the issues, they had a personnel issue. They didn't have the depth they needed for this game. And obviously, Berke would have helped that. Essegian really just not contributing much, just offensively or defensively, really, in this game. And he was under the weather, and so that probably was a large part of that. And you get a few minutes from Ulis, and so at that point, you're playing 6 guys, really. You had 6 guys that could contribute, and I think they already need another guy in that rotation as it is. But if you take essentially Essegian out and obviously Berke out as well, that becomes a big issue for this team, and it was as well. Jacob Bigelow joining us now. We just heard from Fred Hoiberg and perhaps some of the players as well. Jacob, just give me your thoughts on the game tonight.
Yeah, we heard from Juwan Gary and Fred Hoiberg after the game. Juwan Gary kind of was pretty blunt, pretty honest. Said they didn't play well enough. Talked about the defense, the defensive effort. They said straight up they didn't play well enough. Fred Hoiberg said it wasn't a question about effort or intensity. He just gave credit to Maryland. Said they're probably the hottest team in the Big Ten right now. If not for them blowing a 17-point lead on the road at Ohio State, this would have been their 7th straight win. They're playing really hot right now, and with those 2 bigs who I think combined for 11 points the first time these 2 teams played in College Park, and then you get a big game from Queen, and all 5 of their starters are in double figures. Their big-to-big passing was exceptional. I mean, Maryland was firing on all cylinders, and when it came down to winning time, and one team had some really athletic guards who could get downhill into the paint and make plays and get to the rim. There's my intro, the horn. The other team just didn't. And Nebraska just didn't have enough dudes to get across the finish line. Even when they were down, I think they were down by 4 with a little over a minute to go. And they would have to have gotten, 2 stops and 2 scores to tie it. Even that felt just monumental for this team, given how they were playing and how things looked down the stretch tonight.
Yeah, I agree. You said a lot of the same exact stuff that Kaleb and I said to start the show. Jacob, what did you think? Bryce scored, I think, the vast majority of the points in the last quarter of the game for Nebraska. But again, at the beginning, you wondered, how sick is he? Is that Juwan Gary felt like he kind of almost felt like he had a responsibility to take over the offense if Bryce wasn't 100%. How much do you think him not being 100%, if that was true, impacted this game?
It was definitely true. Fred Hoiberg said that this morning that Bryce participated in about half of Nebraska's shoot-around, didn't participate the entire time. Said he called the trainer this morning, said he didn't sleep well last night and wasn't feeling good. And, he said that, Essegian Essegian was struggling the entire time. He never felt really right. And that was evidenced by an 0 for 6 in the box score. But, Bryce Williams, I think the line Fred Hoiberg said was that he battled his ass off, for, the 38 minutes that he played out there. And, Nebraska needed every bit of what they got from him, as well as Juwan Gary. I mean, it just, the flu game, the flu game from Bryce. I had gotten asked a little bit throughout the day, like, hey, you hearing Bryce is sick? Hey, you hearing Bryce is sick? And I'm just like, hell if I know. And then we, hear from, Hoiberg on the pregame radio that, Bryce and Connor were game time decisions tonight. But it just becomes, yeah. I mean, I'll just, I think he was definitely feeling it. Fred said they're going through like prevention, to try to keep it from spreading to, other guys on the team. They're getting ready. They'll leave on Saturday after an off day tomorrow to go to Northwestern. Then they're staying on the road. They will go straight from Chicago to State College to play Penn State. They will not coming back in between.
Okay.
They did the swing out west, and they're doing a swing to the east for these back-to-back road games.
Kaleb, I would actually agree with Fred's assessment that listen, there were times during the January swoon that it did look like they weren't playing hard. I mean, I think we can all agree to that. That wasn't the sense, that wasn't what I got tonight, right, necessarily with what the problem was. How about you? Might have lost.
Yeah, that was other than that little stretch in the second half. No, you got me? Good?
Yep. You're just delayed a little bit. Yep.
All right. Other than that little stretch in the second half where it was like, okay, there's definitely low energy happening for Nebraska that's turning into bad shots on one end and super easy shots for a team that's already hitting everything on the other end. And Fred Hoiberg took a timeout and got them out of that funk. That's what you do with those timeouts. That's the preferred way coaches use those timeouts to stop a little run. And at the time, I think it was a 6-1 run or something like that. It wasn't massive, but you could tell if it was allowed to snowball, the game was going to get to 15 and 20 points, and they were able to hold that off. But outside of that little stretch, which was only about 90 seconds for this team, effort was not the issue for this team. It was simply bodies, healthy bodies, and running into a team that was making absolutely everything out there. You guys talk about Bryce Williams in that last kind of quarter of the game. He actually had 10 points in the final 10 minutes, but nothing in the final 3. Including multiple missed threes, in the last 30 seconds. But at that time, you're just trying to get anything to go. And actually, the majority of your scoring right at the end was Andrew Morgan finding a way to get to the free throw line and going 4 for 4 while he was there. So the team still put themselves in a position, just ends up a couple buckets short at the end.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't want to take moral victories. I don't think I'm taking moral victories at all in this thing, but it's hard to go away too, I think, as a fan, too frustrated or angry about how this one went, right? Because of the absence of Berke and then the illnesses, you were shorthanded. Maryland played their asses off offensively. Nebraska was not perfect defensively, but Maryland, just as Jacob and Kaleb, you guys both mentioned, in winning time, man, those guards, they were completing. They had a couple of drives with just difficult shots they ended up putting in. They hit a key mid-range there. They nailed their threes throughout the night, whether they were open or whether they were covered. And Royals Girl says on the chat, this just seems like a tip your hat type game. You had all of those factors. And then you still kind of, I feel like you kind of still had, not defensively, obviously Nebraska got killed on the boards in this game, but there was a lot I also saw from both Mia and Andrew Morgan that I liked in this game too, right? And I think kind of, Jacob, were maybe some things that for Mia, for sure, we hadn't seen that. He had to set his minutes record tonight, I would think.
His most minutes in a while, that's for sure. And he gave him good minutes. The crowd pop when he went 2 for 2 at the free throw line was pretty eye opening. The crowd pop for those free throws and when there was Chick-fil-A on the line were about when this place got the most into it tonight. But 18 minutes out of Mia. Just the 2 free throws, four rebounds. I feel like he could have had some more. If he could have had some more boards. It felt like a lot of the balls that went his way, he wound up like volleyballing like out to try to get him out to somebody else. But I mean, he was solid. I think it was the best like he looked conditioning wise out there. Like I don't think he looked like a step slow. I think he held his own, athletically, and if they're going to be another game, without Berke, I mean, they're going to need him on Sunday. And Northwestern, in their current situation with their roster, they're going to play through the post a lot with Nick Martinelli. So that'll be interested to see how that winds up personnel wise on Sunday.
We're not going to go really long tonight because it's late. I got to get up early. Internet is being a little bit fussy, and Kaleb and I have a show at 11 tomorrow. One stat I wanted to throw at you guys, Juwan Gary, 2 rebounds tonight in that game. Nebraska ends up with a deficit rebounding 34-22 in this game. And it seemed like especially, guys, the first half that Maryland really got Nebraska on those putback points. Just that was really an issue. And that's, again, maybe that's a place you're missing Berke too, but it seems like a little bit more recently they've been beaten on the boards, Jacob, than they had been the rest of the year. And that's something they're going to have to clean up a little bit here going down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll especially be paramount against Penn State. They are definitely real scrappy, real athletic team that'll try to like punch you in the mouth, on the glass, and with their physicality, even though they're toward the bottom of the Big Ten standings. And obviously, there's another game before that against Northwestern. But I mean, that's some of these matchups, down the stretch. You, like I mentioned, Penn State. You have to see Ohio State again. We saw how athletic and physical they are up close. And then, the next game at home is against a team with 2 7-foot tall guys who run pick and roll with each other when Michigan comes to town here in 11 days. So, I mean, the boards are going to be paramount. I think Bryce Williams has said it multiple times this year, like Big Ten basketball is if you win the glass, you've got a pretty good chance. So that's I think that theme has been pretty consistent with a lot of Nebraska's results.
All right, Jacob, I'm just going to give you a final thought here. Kaleb and I will be talking tomorrow on Nebrasketball Brunch, but final thought from you. I know you just kind of wrapped up looking at the schedule ahead, but how much did tonight impact your thought on Nebraska's potential to get to that 20-win mark, to get to the tournament? Just kind of your overall takeaway on how much tonight affected the way you look at the end of the season.
Doesn't really affect too much. I think now that they've dropped another one at home, they're gonna have to go steal another one on the road to keep it balanced out. The two home losses already, they'd counterbalanced with the West Coast wins at Oregon and Washington, and now they're at a deficit again between protecting home court and winning on the road. I think they'll have 2 pretty good opportunities to balance it out at Northwestern and at Penn State. So we'll see how that goes. But all in all, my thoughts are not too. I mean, it's just. I mean, if you're looking at it, it's disappointing to have another home loss. To get kind of just out-duded, for lack of a better word, on your home court. It's disappointing for sure, but their goals are definitely still in front of them the rest of the way.
Probably got to go, see if we can go 4-2 going forward. Kaleb, we'll talk more tomorrow. Any final thought that you want to share as we wrap? Thumbs up. All right.
No, just this is one where, like you said earlier, that it's not necessarily taking a moral victory. Just it's hard to really get upset at the team for the way everything played out. It's a tough loss, but they'll move forward, and obviously we'll talk about 60 minutes more on this in the morning.
We will. And for that reason, we are going to call it a night tonight. Let everybody get back home, get some rest, and get back at it on Friday. And then again on Sunday for more After Nebrasketball. I won't be there. Josh is going to be quarterbacking you guys, I guess, that night. I don't know if quarterbacking is the right word or not, but Josh Peterson will be joining you guys on Sunday because I will be out of town, and then I'll be back for the Wednesday night game. So, and again, tomorrow, Kaleb and I will be on the Nebrasketball Brunch show at 11 o'clock. I got to remember all of our show names. And then don't forget our novelty, Josh Peterson and me, Valentine's Identity Club. If you have nothing better to do on Valentine's night, we're going to be hanging out. What we're going to be doing, I don't actually know exactly, but I'm sure it'll be fun. and lots of frivolity. So, and it's open to the public. So please join us if you would like to. Get all the information in the I-80 Club Twitter feed. All right, for Jacob, for Kaleb, that is it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you tomorrow with Nebrasketball Brunch, 11 a.m. Bye-bye.